No one wakes up one morning and decides to cut off their family on impulse, and yet, that's how most people see it. They look at the outcome and immediately label it without ever considering what led up to it. They call it ungrateful, selfish, overly sensitive, but the truth is rarely that simple. Walking away doesn't usually start with anger. It starts with exhaustion that builds over years. When every interaction leaves you more tense than at peace, when you have to mentally prepare for even the most normal conversations, when being around your family no longer feels like rest, but like pressure you can't quite explain. What people don't see is how long you tried to stay before you left. You told yourself things would get better. You gave more chances than you probably should have. But at some point, staying started to hurt more than leaving ever could. And that's where the real story begins. There's something most people don't say out loud. Staying in an unhealthy environment can damage you more than walking away from it. We're raised to believe that family is irreplaceable, that no matter what happens, you're supposed to hold on to those relationships. But that belief doesn't always hold up in reality. When a relationship consistently drains you, maintaining it stops being a responsibility and starts becoming a sacrifice. Many people don't stay because they're okay. They stay because they feel guilty leaving. They were taught that enduring pain is a form of love. But there's a line where that endurance stops being meaningful. It starts costing you your energy, your confidence, and your sense of safety. And once you begin to see that, the way you view your family starts to shift. You begin asking questions you never allowed yourself to ask before. And those questions lead you to re-examine everything. The breakdown rarely begins with one big event. It comes from small things that repeat over time. Comments that seem harmless but leave you feeling judged. Moments where you try to express yourself but aren't truly heard. Situations where you have to adjust yourself just to avoid conflict. At first, it feels normal. You assume every family is like this. But when these moments happen often enough, they start to leave a mark. You become more careful with what you say. You think twice before showing how you feel. You slowly start to shrink without even realizing it. These small experiences build up over time into a kind of pressure you can't easily name. And that quiet accumulation begins to change you from the inside. From the outside, your decision to leave can look sudden. But in reality, it's just the moment everything finally reaches its limit. Like a volcano, it may look calm on the surface for years, but underneath, pressure is constantly building. Every time you're dismissed, every time you're hurt, every time you suppress your feelings adds to it. And eventually, you reach a point where you simply can't carry it anymore. The final moment isn't the real cause. It's just the breaking point. What made you leave wasn't one event, but everything that came before it. When you look back, you realize how long you've been holding it together. And at that point, leaving no longer feels like an emotional reaction. It feels like a necessary decision to survive. In many families, you're not really allowed to be yourself. You're given a role early on, often without even realizing it. Maybe you're the one who keeps everyone happy. Maybe you're the one who gets blamed when things go wrong. Maybe you're the one who stays quiet to keep the peace. Over time, these roles become how you exist within the family. You get used to putting other people's needs before your own. You learn to adjust your emotions to fit the environment around you. But as you grow, something inside you starts to push back. You begin to see that you've been living inside a version of yourself that isn't real. You want to change. You want to be who you actually are. But when you start to shift, the system around you reacts. And in that moment, you realize that staying means continuing to lose yourself. Some wounds don't come from what happened, but from what never happened at all. Not the words that hurt, but the absence of understanding. Not the big arguments, but the long silence when you needed to be heard. You grow up in an environment where your emotions aren't truly acknowledged, so you learn to handle everything on your own. You comfort yourself. You process things alone. You figure it out without support. Over time, you become strong on the outside, but empty on the inside. You keep going back, still hoping that one day something will change. You tell yourself that if you're patient enough, they'll finally understand you. But every time, you leave with the same quiet disappointment. Nothing really shifts. And slowly, you begin to realize that what you've been searching for may have never been there to begin with. From a psychological perspective, this isn't random at all. The human brain is wired to bond with early caregivers, regardless of whether the relationship is healthy or not. When hurt is mixed with moments of warmth, the nervous system forms a bond that's incredibly hard to break. You're not just attached because of love, but because of familiarity. At the same time, the brain tries to hold on to hope to avoid facing a painful truth. It convinces you that things might change if you just try a little harder. This creates a loop where you keep returning, even when you know something is wrong. So the fact that you couldn't walk away right away doesn't mean you're weak. It means your mind was doing exactly what it was conditioned to do. And that's what makes this process far more complex than it seems. Because of those patterns, you stay longer than you ever expected. You're not just maintaining a relationship, you're trying to fix something inside yourself. You believe that if you're patient enough, understanding enough, and try hard enough, things will eventually change. The rare moments of warmth only reinforce that belief. You hold on to them as proof that there's still hope. So you keep investing emotionally, keep waiting, keep going back. But what you're chasing isn't reality, it's potential. And the longer it continues, the more you lose your energy and your sense of self. At some point, you stop recognizing who you are outside of the role you've been playing. And that's when the question starts to surface. Is staying still worth it? The decision to leave rarely happens all at once. It unfolds gradually, in stages you might not even notice at first. In the beginning, you simply start pulling back. You share less, open up less, and create a bit more distance. Then your reactions begin to change. You stop arguing, stop explaining, stop trying to fix everything. You become quieter, not because you're okay, but because you're exhausted. But when none of these changes make a difference, you're forced to face a difficult truth. You can't change someone who doesn't want to change. And when every boundary you set keeps getting ignored, leaving no longer feels extreme. It becomes the only way to protect yourself from being hurt over and over again. At the same time, cutting off contact isn't always a perfect solution either. Distance can bring peace, but it can also come with complicated emotions. You might feel an emptiness when you're no longer connected to people who once mattered so much. You may carry unresolved wounds into new relationships. Sometimes you become more guarded, less trusting, or hesitant to form deep connections. In certain situations, going completely no contact might even mean missing the chance for reconciliation if things were ever to change. What really matters isn't just whether you leave or stay, but whether you understand yourself in the process. If distance is only a way to avoid pain, it won't truly heal you. But if it's a conscious decision, it can become the first step toward rebuilding yourself. If you've been through this, you probably understand the conflict inside you. One part of you still wants to hold on to what's familiar. Another part knows that staying means continuing to get hurt. You miss them, you feel the pain, and at the same time, you want to let go. These emotions don't cancel each other out, they exist together. You might feel guilty for choosing yourself. You might question whether you're being too harsh. But at the same time, you also feel a kind of relief you've never felt before. That doesn't mean you stopped caring. It means you've started caring about yourself too. And for many people, that's one of the hardest shifts to make. With enough distance and time, something new begins to take shape within you. You start to understand who you really are, outside of the roles you were given. You begin to listen to yourself, instead of just reacting out of habit. Your choices are no longer driven by fear or obligation, but by what genuinely feels right for you. This process isn't quick, and it isn't easy. There are moments when you doubt yourself, moments when you're tempted to go back to what feels familiar. But each time, you remember why you left, and little by little, you begin to rebuild a sense of safety from within, not based on other people, but on your own awareness of who you are. From there, your definition of family starts to change. Family is no longer just about shared blood. It becomes about the people who make you feel safe being yourself, the people who respect you, listen to you, and don't require you to shrink to be accepted. You begin to understand that real connection doesn't come from obligation. It comes from choice and sincerity. You may not be able to change your past, but you can choose how you build your present. And that opens up a new possibility, where you're no longer defined by what hurt you. Instead, you're defined by what you choose to keep in your life. If you've made it this far, and something here resonated with you, you're not alone. There are so many people quietly going through the same experience without ever talking about it. They keep showing up, going to work, living their lives as usual, but inside, they're navigating something deeply personal that not many people understand. Content like this isn't here to tell you what to do. It's here to help you see more clearly what you're going through. And when you understand yourself better, you start to recognize what's truly right for you. If you want to keep exploring the deeper layers of human psychology and better understand yourself through stories like this, consider subscribing. This is a space where you can slow down, look inward, and start making sense of things in a clearer way.